Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast, career advice from people in the business. This week, I'm speaking to Paul McEvoy from the horror film festival Fright Fest. Fright Fest is one of the biggest horror festivals out there and is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. It's debut films from the likes of Christopher Nolan, Ty West, and Guillermo del Toro. I spoke to Paul about the origins of the film festival. He gave me his tips for filmmakers entering Fright Fest. We also talked about navigating censorship and audience sensitivities. And he also gave me some tips for audience members to get the most out of Fright Fest. Enjoy. So, first off, can you tell me a bit about the origins of Fright Fest and what inspired its creation?
Okay. Briefly, because obviously I could probably wax on for about an hour.
Yeah.
So I used to co-own a shop called the Cinema Store, which was in Covent Garden. We'd sell like books and posters and all that kind of stuff. And finally I was on a holiday with my then girlfriend, um, and I suddenly had a flash. This was like 26 years ago. Nobody in the UK was doing a festival for genre, so I kind of we wrote out all the notes. I want to make an amazing festival, brilliant guests, brilliant films, make it unlike other festivals where there's like the barriers where you're not allowed access to meet people and all that kind of stuff. And purely, I'm a big horror genre lover. So selfishly, I created a festival that I would want to attend. This would be like the ultimate, I'd be seeing all the movies, getting stuff signed if that's your thing, and getting freebies and all that kind of malarkey. So that's it. In very short terms, that is the origin.
That's how it started. So, and how many years has it been running?
This one will be our 25th anniversary year.
25th.
Uh, and this year, we started off at the Prince Charles back in the year 2000. And this year we kind of moved around the square. So we did a few years at the Prince Charles, and then we kind of outgrew that because there was just not enough seats,
Mm.
and the tickets were selling within minutes. So we then moved to, I think it was the Odeon West End, but then that closed down, as in
Yep.
they were making it into flats. Then we moved to the Empire, what was the Empire Leicester Square, so it's like the 1,300 seater. And then I think that was then closing or being refurbished. So we then had to move to the View Cinema Leicester Square. So we've been all around the square. And then one year the View wasn't available either. So we went to View Shepherd's Bush.
Mm.
And then so we did that for 1 year, which worked great. And then we came back to the refurbished Cineworld IMAX Leicester Square, and we ran screens there and at the Prince Charles.
Yeah.
And then this year, it's just been announced we're actually moving for our 25th anniversary to both the Odeon Leicester Square. So we're in the huge Odeon, the
Nice.
state-of-the-art one,
Yeah.
putting all the screens on that, and the Odeon Lux Leicester Square, which is the other enormous cinema right next to it, so we're running all the screens on that.
Wow.
So for the 25th anniversary, we're running both, pretty much taking over half of Leicester Square. So
Yeah.
Graham Humphrey's artwork is going to be looming down on everybody.
This is going to be a tough one, I guess, but looking at that first time you did it to maybe
Yeah.
last year's festival, how much has it changed over the years? I'm assuming it's got bigger, more films, more people.
It has. Obviously, as with everybody and everything, we have to evolve. But we've always kept at heart that we're doing this for the fans. We never take the fans for granted, ever. Okay, occasionally we have to have like a red carpet thing where you can't, but even then, we still try and instill that community feeling. So unless it's somebody that's literally got to come in, introduce their film, and then go because they've got other commitments, we encourage everybody from Robert Englund to Toby Hooper to John Landis to George Romero to Guillermo to Alfonso Cuarón to Eli Roth to get into the mix along with the first time filmmakers. For example, we did like Ben Wheatley in the cast and crew of Kill List,
Mm.
and Ben watched everybody's films over that entire weekend because he's a genre lover. And John Landis the same. He was watching as many films as he possibly could. And then obviously going back, we had Christopher Nolan with Insomnia at the Prince Charles. So again, great guest, great guy. Still kind of every time I see him, we're like, hey, Friday. You know, we we have to evolve, but we're still keeping the core love of cinema at heart.
Yeah.
So although it might sometimes feel, oh, corporate, it really isn't. We have total autonomy, or whatever that word is.
Yeah.
There's nobody telling us, right, you've got to show this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Of course, we do some studio pictures, some big ticket studio pictures, because that's part of genre, that's part of the mix. And of course, a lot of filmmakers that have gone on to do incredible works, we supported their early careers. So everybody from like Guillermo, we did like Devil's Backbone, and Nolan, and some have stayed within genre, and some haven't. Like Lee Cronin, I didn't know Lee Cronin, director of Evil Dead Rise.
Yep.
We had both of his short films, which were submitted when I was selecting all the short films,
Yeah.
along with the features. No, not anymore. I've got Helen and her amazing team selecting all the shorts, because I can't cope with even just the features. But no, look, so we kind of discovered him, and then he's obviously gone on to make Evil Dead Rise. And in fact, I was emailing him just the other day about another thing. Similarly with Ty West. The Roost, his first feature, came through on, I can't remember if it's VHS or a DVD, right? And I loved it. So we might not have even seen The Roost, but we showed it back in like 2000 and whatever, 2001, whatever it was, quite a long time ago now. And instead of emailing, because this was almost in the days before emails, so I called Ty up, and he's like, "Hello, it's Paul from Fright Fest, in the UK. Thank you so much for sending The Roost. I loved it, right?" And he's like, "Well, I'm working at Urban Outfitters." He was on the
Oh,
floor
no.
of Urban Outfitters,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, that's fantastic news! Fantastic news!" He said, "Do you think I should get a passport?" I was like, "Yeah, get a passport, Ty, please, and bring over promo stuff." And he handmade a load of bats that he brought over, gave to everybody at the screening, at the Fright Fest screening. And then for House of the Devil, he came and did something else for that. For the Innkeepers, he brought someone. So, and now of course he's gone to make Pearl and X and Maxine, which is coming out very soon. In fact, again, without any name dropping, I was emailing him last week about that. So it's not about just showing the big names. It's about the excitement of discovering new talent. Issa Lopez with Tigers Are Not Afraid. We were one of the few festivals that reached out and wanted it. She's at every festival, almost, and not just genre festival, but a lot of festivals. And I think she was rejected by all of them. It was only Fantastic Fest and us that supported. And I don't know if you've seen
I haven't.
Tigers Are
No.
Not
I
Afraid.
have to check it out. Yeah.
Masterpiece. In fact, so good. We premiered it in Glasgow on the year when it was bleak snow. So she made it all the way in from abroad, through like even half the people trying to get there from the UK couldn't bloody well get there. So me and Issa, we did the Tigers Are Not Afraid in Glasgow. Then I invited her back to re-show it in August for the London gig. And she, again, not a dry eye in the house, etc., etc. And then of course now she's doing a True Detective series 4. So it's all about discovering people, and some short filmmakers and some filmmakers go on to make other incredible work. Some don't, through life reasons, and we all know funding is a whole different topic. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, say I'm entering a film into the festival. What criteria are you looking for?
That's a tough question, isn't it? Right. Okay. Are we talking shorts or features?
Let's start with shorts. So short films. What criteria are you looking for when you look at
my advice, through doing 20 odd years of selecting all the shorts, and we do get sent hundreds and hundreds of them. They come in now via Film Freeway. For the first, I think, 18 or 19 years of the festival, we didn't charge anybody anything to submit anything. But then we were getting so much stuff. We now, I think we're the most inexpensive festival to submit to. We've tried to keep our prices really low, because we understand that struggling filmmakers, you're struggling to make the film, let alone submit it for 150, 200 quid. So I can't remember the exact prices, but it's very, very low. My advice, and obviously I'm not selecting the shorts now,
Yeah.
because I have Helen and her team. Keep it short. I think the optimum length for a short film is between 7 and 12 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they do work, or they can work if they're shorter than that. But if you start putting stuff that, if you've done a short that's more than 12 minutes, it's very difficult to program, because if you're doing a showcase, which we do, a short film showcase, right? And maybe you've got 10 spots within each showcase, so like a 90-minute, 100-minute total program. Even if your 15-minute is wonderful, it might be taking the place of two other ones, a 7 and an 8, right? And then by the same token, it's a kind of don't bore us, get to the chorus scenario.
Yeah.
If we do screen a short before a feature, which we have done occasionally, a lot of people in the audience are there ready to watch the feature. They don't want a 25-minute or 22-minute short before the feature. So that would be my advice, is to try and keep it short. Get other pairs of eyes and ears over it. So if I made a short, if I had time to make a short, I would have my friends, or even acquaintances, have a look at this. What do you like about it? What's wrong with it? What would you edit? Because then they're not going to care about me being in a field somewhere bitterly cold. Oh, I need to keep that bit in, or this performance is so good. No, let people see it, that will then give you genuine, honest, critical feedback. And that also applies to features.
Yeah.
Because so many features come through, and okay, we've shown lots of long films, but your heart sinks when it's a running time, 2 hours, 12 minutes, and your heart sings when it's 58 or 92. It's like, lovely, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And I'd agree completely with all of that, because I think whenever I make a film, I even show it to people who I know are going to be abrasive with it and tear it to shreds, because I'd rather know now than when I
Yeah.
send it out to sales and distribution or to festivals. I'd rather,
I think an honest opinion is great, because
yeah,
as a creator and as creators out there, if you take the good criticism, as in the positive reviews, that's great. But you're going to have to take bad criticism.
Yeah.
And if you can't take that, it's like,
You're in the wrong game.
like pop music and art, like I love Radiohead, I love The Cure. Some people don't. That's completely fine, because not everybody loves the same art or the same films. And I've said this before, but it's true that there's always going to be divisive pictures. And I would almost rather a film or a piece of art be a divisory thing, i.e., you're not going to please everybody, like, than being bland. That's the worst thing. Is something that machine built, like in the Marvel stuff or Star Wars, to try and please everybody. And in the end, you don't please anybody, because it's a bland Big Mac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a palatable for the mass market.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't agree with you on Star Wars, but because I absolutely love all Star Wars.
That was one of my first obsessions. Like, I bought all the little things, all the little toys, Palitoy, and all that.
Yeah. No,
Which
it's
I've
changed
kept
a lot. It has changed a lot over the years.
Obviously worth a fortune.
Yeah.
And then I flew from Cannes to the opening day of episode 1.
Oh, really? Wowzers.
Yeah,
I bet that was good.
And to be honest with you, I wasn't.
Ruined it for you.
It's all right. No, anyway, look, I'm just using Star Wars as an example.
No, I know.
Because,
yeah, no, I get it. So talking about pushing the envelope and doing those things that people really love. Obviously, these days you can have controversial films with sort of controversial themes and content. And how do you navigate that? And do you care about audience sensitivities, or are you like, it's a horror film, deal with it? What's your kind of stance on that?
No, we're very, very careful. In fact, every year we get sent stuff through that myself and Alan Jones, who is my co-programmer on the festival, we get sent a lot of stuff that we find distasteful.
Oh, really? Yeah.
No, well, either it doesn't work for us on a personal level, or we just know that the content is too problematic. So I'll just give an example. Like we screened the remake, Alex Ayer's remake of Maniac.
Yeah.
You know, the one with Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
And there was some pushback from people that would shown something that was too extreme. And we totally get that. But there was, and a lot of people love it. And now it's kind of regarded as not a classic, but people respect it. They do like it. But there was, at that time of that screening, there was some kickback. We also did program a Serbian film, which is a very controversial picture, especially in its uncut form. But it wasn't, in our eyes, and again, all art is in the eye of the beholder, it wasn't exploitation for exploitation's sake. Having spoken at length with the director and the producer of that picture, it was a metaphor for, you know, the plight of the country, etc., etc. But whereas and then you've got some stuff which is pure trash, pure exploitation that we wouldn't touch with a barge pole. I mean, we did screen the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, which again wasn't wonderful. I mean, but we didn't get away with it. It wasn't really something that we loved.
Yeah.
And there's certainly much worse stuff that we have absolutely, turned down.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then horror has always been, and it always should be, have some controversial stuff in it. So, for example, if we were running Fright Fest back in the early 70s, we'd be offered stuff like The Last House on the Left, which has got the original one, which has got some massively problematic stuff in it. Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the original Maniac. So I think it's good to push the boundaries, but I think the boundaries over the years have changed. But so, for example, we will premiere both of the Terrifier pictures, Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2. We did the world premiere of the second one. Was it last year? Yeah, was it? No, the years flow by. Yeah, was it last year? I can't remember. Anyway, but it's really long, really, really, really long, like 2.5 hours long. I remember in my introduction, I said, look, this is the War and Peace of slasher clown movies. And to be honest with you, the film is extreme in its gore, and it's done extremely well worldwide box office. It's been a sensation. It's done a fortune.
It's everywhere,
and art is now like for the kids. A lot of teenagers love it, don't they? So it's their, almost like their video nasty. You know what I mean? I don't know about I'm older than you, but I remember like the video nasty era. So when me and Alan are programming for Fright Fest, it's not Paul Fest, it's not Alan Fest, it's Fright Fest. So we are a reflection of what is out there, and Terrifier is in the current zeitgeist. So whereas I prefer David Lynch and that kind of, the more cerebral kind of stuff. And I do throw in a lot of that, Lynchian, slow burny kind of stuff and all that malarkey. But then I couldn't just show, we're showing 70 films or something this year again. They can't all be of the same kind of thing. It's got to be like a mixtape of, like, you have a slow burner, then you have like a bit of a popper and an action comedy one and a more hard, so it's a mix of stuff.
Yeah. And do you notice, do you notice any trends coming up? Is there like for example, last year, was there a ton of films in a certain type?
That's a brilliant question, Jim. Yes and no.
Okay.
because when we're selecting the films, it literally takes us a year to put the program together. Okay, so we're already working on, in fact, we're already working on stuff for next year, not let alone this year, as in next August. We don't see patterns until the program is complete, and then there's a couple of very respected critics, Virginie Salavi, Kim Newman, and Anton Patel, and they do like a Fright Fest roundup, okay, of everything that we've shown. They do both written word thing, the BFI, and they do a podcast, BFI podcast, something, or radio. And it's interesting because watching all of the Fright Fest selections in the space of like 3 or 4 weeks. So some stuff they come to see at the festival, some stuff they'll see to review in advance.
Mm.
They pick out the strands of, oh, this year is, but when we're selecting them, so for example, I've got 4 or 5 movies to watch today,
Yeah.
and maybe one of those I'll love, but it might chime with a film that Alan's already selected or I selected 6 months ago.
Mm.
So, and we are purely a reflection of the times and what's being made.
Mm.
And again, of course, there was obviously the COVID years. I thought there was going to be a lot more lockdown movies, and of course there were,
Mm.
but that wasn't immediately uh, uh, noticeable for us
Mm.
because a lot of stuff was made pre-pandemic, and then it was in post-production post-pandemic.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And it brings me on to something else. Whenever I speak to filmmakers who've had a film at Fright Fest, one of the things that they love about it is the amount of exposure they get. Because a lot of festivals you can go and you don't really have that much interaction with press, but they all say loads of interviews, loads of press. Obviously, that must be important to you guys. How do you keep that momentum up and keep the press coming and keeping them interested?
Um, Again, that's an interesting one. The press, Greg Day, who is another festival co-director, he looks after all the PR.
Mm.
So he does, and he will pretty much, with very few exceptions, there's no like hierarchy of, oh, if you've got that film there, then obviously, there's certain films we have to do as like tentpole, so they're going to get more press. But we always try and generate as much as press as possible
Yeah.
each individual film. So what tends to happen is, and this is what I've been emailing the last couple of weeks, when I've been saying your film is selected to Fright Fest, please don't tell anybody. Please
Mm.
keep it strictly to yourself, because then when we make our announcement, our announcement of the films, it gives more impact. So we say, look, please hold it back. And then when we do the official press release, we're listing all the movies, like the whole lot, X amount of world premieres, X amount of UK prems, whatever. It's going to give everybody the fair crack of the whip on the playing field. Everybody's going to
Yeah.
get the equal amount of publicity.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether it's a studio picture or, and there's a bunch this year, a lot of first time, both UK and international filmmakers, where we've loved their works. I mean, we
Mm.
really loved it. So it's beautiful to be able to launch them, their careers into the world, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we also do, we try and encourage as many of the filmmakers to hang with each other as possible.
Mm.
So as in like, see, I hate the word networking, but it's great for networking, both from an acting and directing perspective, because we have about 700 or 800 guests coming in from around the world, directors, producers, writers, special effects people, makeup effect,
Yeah.
actors, actors, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
And you get to mingle with people who love the thing you love as well. So even if you're not networking for a business reason, you're
Yeah.
just nerding out about horror movies that you love. Um, so then my final question on this would be, what if I'm coming to Fright Fest as an audience member, how do I get the most out of it?
Ooh, okay. So this year, luckily, we've got um, slightly more, not enough, I don't think. We've got slightly more weekend passes available because last year they sold out in record time. So luckily we do have a few more, but I went to actually visited both the cinemas yesterday again. And although they're big, I don't know if it's going to be quite big enough. Look, if you can get a weekend pass, that is your best value.
Mhm.
All right. That basically gives you a guaranteed seat in the main auditorium, but then it gives you first dibs on the selection of your discovery tickets. So, that'll give you free access to such and such a films. And then, of course, we do the day pass. So if people can't make it through every one of the 5 days, then they'll just come on the Saturday or the Sunday or the Monday, because it's Bank Holiday Monday. And then you can pick and choose your day. You can make
Mm.
your own mixtape. And then, of course, you get a lot of people just coming along for one film. I would say it's such a fantastic atmosphere, both for the fans and for the filmmakers, whether they've got a film in the festival or not. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's just important to be there, to be, as you said, talking to producers and financiers if that's your bag, or if you're there purely as a fan, make friends with the people in the seat next to you. You never know who you're going to be sat next to.
Mm.
that's similar to me, and I go to a lot of festivals worldwide. I've met a lot of people just by sitting next to them and just saying, "Oh, hey, how you doing? You enjoying the film?" Blah blah, and just yeah, just. I know not everybody can be or is able to be like talkative, and I totally get it. If people don't want to talk, that's completely fine, of course. But mostly 99.9% of Fright Fest audiences are very friendly. It's the friendliest bunch, um, and obviously we can't. Not everyone that comes to every screening is a Fright Fest fan. A lot of people just bowl up and watch a movie, but it's such a brilliant atmosphere that you don't get. If me and you, Jim, were going to see a film in your local view on
Yeah,
a Friday night, who knows what that audience can be like? There might
yeah.
be phones, there might be shouting, there might be people trying to get in from another screen.
Mm,
This doesn't happen at Fright Fest. It's
mm,
everybody's looking after each other. Everybody knows that they're sharing the love of genre,
yeah.
and that's really special, and that's very rare around the world. I mean, there are a bunch of festivals that I've been to that where it is that same kind of level of passion. Motel X, Motel G
Mm,
in Portugal, Fantastic Fest over in Austin, Beyond Fest in LA, TIFF, Peter's Midnight Madness at TIFF. Amazing, amazing atmospheres. But then you go to somewhere, and actually, I'm not going to name any names. It's not no, no, but look, something like and I love going to Cannes. I do love it, but you see genre pictures in Cannes, and it's not that same kind of respectful audience. And I love, no, tell me about. I love Cannes. I
No,
love
I love
Cannes.
Cannes as well. But the mad thing about that is I've been in screenings where, for example, it's a George Romero thing. I can't remember the one he did, the recent one he did, and Land of the Dead, I think it was, premiered at Cannes or something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously the audience are sort of quite a wide range of people, aren't they? So they're not horror fans necessarily, they're
Oh no, of course
cinephiles.
not.
So they react very differently to that kind of.
Well, I saw went to see David Cronenberg's Crash in
Oh, really?
Cannes,
All right, cool. Yeah, yeah.
which was like the world premiere. Amazing. I love the
Yeah.
movie. But so all the genre or many other genre festivals weren't able to get tickets.
Mm,
There was no tickets available. And I was literally surrounded by people who obviously had no idea what they were going to watch or that
yeah.
it was a Cronenberg picture. They'd just got the ticket and turned up in their finery. And many of them walked out like 5 or 10 minutes in. They were like, and I felt sorry for the people outside that couldn't get a ticket that were desperate to see the new
Yeah.
Cronenberg. But look, Cannes is a different beast. It's its own brilliant,
Yeah.
crazy, insane beast. It's not a genre festival, is it?
No,
It's
it's not.
absolutely not. It's like a bit
No.
like seeing stuff in London. London Film Festival, great.
Yeah.
It's not a genre festival, so they will often program stuff in not such good slots or whatever, and
Yeah.
then you are going to get a lot of regular audience in there as well. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah. And also that's kind of what I love about Cannes as well is if they don't like it, they'll boo or they'll leave. And if they love it, they'll clap for 20 minutes ad
yes,
nauseum. But that's fine,
yeah,
that's there's passion
yeah.
there. It's different sort of festival.
Because we premiered Donnie Darko at
Oh,
Fright
really?
Fest years,
Yeah, yeah.
and me and Alan went to see Southland Tales. It was like the very early morning screening in the enormous Palais, and of course it was the never to be seen again extraordinarily long cut. It was just
Yeah.
like, it's got some great stuff in it
Mm.
in retrospect. But at the time, we were like, oh my god,
What happened?
when's it going to end? But that's Can, which I love.
Thinking of all your experience watching all these horror movies, what is the most disturbing horror movie or scene in a horror movie you've ever seen?
Right. So, despite doing this thing for 25 years and being a horror fan my entire life, I do still genuinely get scared
Yeah.
about on certain films. And that fear frisson, when the hairs on the back of your neck go up, that still happens. Um, not a lot, not as much as it should do, but enough. So one of my favourite films of the year, which UK premiered in Fright Fest in Glasgow, is a new movie that's coming out in April in the UK. All You Need Is Death, by Irish director Paul McEvoy,
Mm-hmm.
who looks very much like Alan Moore. He's in that Alan Moore kind of style.
Mm-hmm.
It's a film about a young couple searching for a cursed Gaelic song, which kind of infects like a virus.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched it, was like literally hairs. It was just terrifying. A bit
Yeah.
like Zanowski's Possession
Mm.
mixed with Kill List or whatever. Um, and inside, à l'intérieur, Bustillo and Mori's
Mm.
picture. No spoilers, but when Beatrice is coming out from the dark. Martyrs, which again we premiered, that was shocking.
Mm.
Me and Alan literally sat in a screening room on our own. It was a massive room, and nobody's in there watching it. Me and him, like 4 or 5 other people, and we're like, "Fucking hell, this is we have to show this." So yeah, that's obviously a terrifying picture. There's loads, yeah. So yeah, horror and look, my favorite film. Oh, well, I'm not going to circumnavigate. If you're going to ask me my favorite film, so I'm going to
Go on, go for it. No, tell me.
yeah.
Favorite.
No,
Give me your
look,
favorite.
my favorite horror pictures, and I've gone on record with this before. Obviously, when people say, "What's your favorite horror?" and Don't Look Now is my absolute all-time favorite because I still am terrified of the ending because I
Mm-hmm.
watched it when I was like 13 or 14 with my parents, and that ending just kept repeating in my mind. I couldn't get it out of my mind. And then just rewatched it on 4K, and it's just a masterpiece. The Innocents, The Haunting,
Mm-hmm.
brilliant, scary films. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Argento's Inferno, um, Alien, the first Alien picture. I'm sure I've forgotten some, but look, that's just and David Lynch, my favorite filmmaker. So Mulholland Drive or Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me, a Videodrome. See the Thing remake.
Mm-hmm.
George's bless, and I love George so much. One of my closest friends. Um, Pretty much all of George's, but Dawn of the Dead, especially Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Just wonderful
Yeah.
pieces of work.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you want more advice from industry professionals who are out there at the moment working, or you just want to listen to some cool stories from film sets from around the world, then please do subscribe.